In this video, I am going to be answering your questions. April 5th, I competed in a national championship. If you haven't seen my full recap of that competition, definitely check it out. I uploaded it a couple weeks ago. It's probably about maybe a full week after I had competed. And it was actually around that time that I posted an Instagram poll asking my audience if they had any questions for me to answer. That's what this video is. I'm going to be answering some of the questions that you guys asked. All right, so without further ado, let's just dive right into it. When competing against other opponents, what is your mind focused on mainly? To be completely honest with you, there's quite a bit that goes into this because it really does change, and it's something that's always evolving. We're talking about like a competitor's mindset now, right? Like this is the foundation of essentially what is sports psychology. How do you maximize your performance? And there's an equation that I learned from Dr. David Cook, who's worked with Olympians and all the like, and it's performance equals potential minus interference. And I do agree with that formula. I haven't come up with a better one since seeing it. But basically what I found is the way to achieve your ultimate performance is to eliminate as much interference as possible. The way to do that is to be at complete peace. And peace, in my opinion, is like another term for joy. So just having fun in a way, right? Like being in your element, finding your flow state. In powerlifting, that's kind of tough because just the way everything's engineered, you have 9 attempts, each attempt is only a minute long, the whole meet lasts for 3 hours. I mean, it's just, you're constantly in and out of that zone and you're constantly trying to trigger that fight or flight state for yourself. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing. You also, you're alone. So yes, you have a team around you, sure, but only you can execute, right? So with that in mind, it can be difficult to assume this quote unquote flow state, right? To eliminate a lot of the interference. The way that I go about it is I lock in, I stay in my lane, and I try and just ignore everything and everyone else. I'm not really thinking about my competitors. I'm not thinking about the competition. And if I'm actually at peace and I truly have faith and I truly trust, I'm not even thinking about the results of the competition. I'm not thinking about the numbers we're selecting to load on my back. Like, I'm not thinking about any of that. What I'm thinking about is going as fucking hard as I possibly can, seeing just how far I can push my body. I want to see what I'm made of because that's what's fun to me. Like, I didn't get into powerlifting because I love the sport. I got into powerlifting because I love the idea of becoming a world champion. I love the idea of becoming the absolute best in the world. Powerlifting happened to be the vehicle I chose to get to that destination. Just one of them, at least. I also got into powerlifting because I love the game. I love the game of grit and grind and getting stronger. The art of strength, I love that. I've been doing this long before there were cameras and money, you know what I mean? So I love that. Powerlifting simply offered a way for me to standardize and objectively measure my strength. So to me, it made sense to get involved in the sport when on one hand, I want to become a world champion, powerlifting offers that, and I want a way to be able to say for sure, 100%, this is how strong I am. I needed something to measure myself up against. So put the two together, boom, it makes sense for me to go to try and become a powerlifting world champion and enter the IPF, right? So that's why I got into powerlifting. Not much has changed. Like, I'm telling you, man, it does not motivate me or move me when people say, oh, well, you could go here and set this world record. Even like winning nationals, winning worlds, that means a lot to me, but it's only because the idea of becoming the absolute greatest in the world in human history, that's what moves me. It's not so much about the title. It's just this idea that I could potentially do something worth remembering. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but in short, I try to find this balance where I'm like locked in and in my lane and blocking everything else out and just doing like, just loving where I am, just being in the present, and just giving everything I have, just slowly turning up that knob as the attempts climb. And just try and have fun. Now, what I will say is as I've gotten more mature in this sport, it's harder and harder to do that because you are aware of where you are and why you're there. You are aware of the fact that, yep, I have to worry about this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. These are the numbers I need to hit. Oh, if this doesn't happen, then this is what we need to do. Like, you're aware of all of that. You're aware of the strategy, you're aware of the game plan, and you're aware of why you are there, right? So you're there to win. And so that's in the back of your mind as well. But truthfully, man, you find that balance. You just have to be at a place of peace. Okay, so I'm not really thinking about my competitors. I'm not really thinking about my competition. What they do does not affect me. Like, this is a very different sport than most where at the end of the day, you're only as strong as you are. So you beat you, chances are you win at this level. You know what I mean? So that's my mindset. All right, next question. Are there any new programs in your training app? Okay, so this is actually a really good question. My training app as of right now has 10 programs inside of it. I have at least 3 new programs already written. They have yet to be uploaded into the app, and I'm gonna explain why in a second. So in short, yes, I do have new training programs available. However, the reason why I'm holding off on uploading them just yet, number one, we are still only about 3 to 4 months into the launch of the app, and so it doesn't really make sense for me to roll these programs out just yet because each of the programs, except for maybe 1 or 2, are 12 weeks long. So they're all about 3 months in length, which again, if we launched, let's say 3 months ago, 4 months ago, it would make sense that people are either still in the program or just wrapping up that program. Keep in mind, not everyone in the app started when we launched, right? And so nobody could really use new programs anyway for the most part. In addition, every single category, except for I think one, has multiple programs in it that are super different and super unique and very good at getting you results. And so if you did happen to finish one, you could easily jump into a different one. So I just don't know if it's worth loading out that or unveiling that content just yet. The other reason why I'm holding off is because I'm still gathering consumer data. I'm still gathering data from people in the app, basically to find out what are you guys liking, what are you guys not, what do you guys need, what do you guys not need, and then also too, what's your experience with the app? I have no problem, especially in this early stage, pivoting to a different software, going the PDF like ebook route, which is something I'm considering. So these are all just things that I'm considering doing. And so I don't want to go too deep into scaling the content of the training app just yet, because I want to make sure that any moves we make, they're precise and they're calculated, So yeah. Okay, third question. How much harder will you work towards nationals and what will you work on? So this is a great question. If you watched my full Nationals recap / review, you'd probably know the answer to this already, but I can't fault anyone who asked this because the reality is I don't think I had uploaded that at the time of this. In short, there's quite a bit that we're working on. One of the major changes that we made that maybe to other people it's not a major change, but to me it is, we have redesigned our split so that we have all primary days on the same day. So all primary lifts, I should say, on the same day. And obviously it's SBD, but they are all the primaries. I worded that so retarded. What I'm trying to say is in the past, I would have like secondary squat day with some bench. And then I think I had some more bench. And then Wednesday would be like my primary deadlift day. And then Thursday would be more bench. And then Friday would be my primary squat day. And then Saturday would be primary bench. So see how we had our primary lifts throughout the week? Now it's all in one day. So not only are we doing SBD all in one day, which we weren't doing before, but we're doing SBD with all primaries in that day. Biggest reason why I made that change is because one, I want to become more sport specific. I've been training a lot like a power builder for the last several years, and I've gotten really strong that way, and I've made a lot of progress. But I recognize that the best in the sport right now have made the sacrifice of doing a lot of fun bodybuilding stuff so that they could be the best. So I'm thinking about people like Agatha, even people like Joe Bornstein. There's a lot of lifters who I can think of who I know have pretty much eliminated a lot of I'm not saying they're not doing any accessories, but have basically hyper-focused on the sport of powerlifting and what is required to program a powerlifter adequately for the elite level. There's a lot of people who have decided to just go all in on that, and I see what they reap as a result. Now, are they neglecting certain things? Probably, and there's seasons to everything. You don't have to do that kind of shit year round. What I've noticed though for myself is I never really do it. So I'm always kind of like 50-50 with everything, because I just enjoy training. I enjoy doing my accessories. I enjoy trying to get jacked as fuck. I don't want to just be strong. I want to look as strong as I am. So that matters to me. But I can't keep fucking losing, man. This is pissing me off, dude. I really, if you watch that recap, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, my point is getting even more specific. And that is a massive principle of strength, is just specificity. So if in a meet, you're going to have all of your primaries lined up one after the other, you should probably train like that. Even if it means some of those lifts take a hit, like your deadlift and your bench, because you're going to be hitting your primary squats first. To me though, that's still, at least it becomes more predictable in the long run, right? And if you do things right, you should be able to still do really, really well on all 3 lifts, despite having some fatigue going into each lift after the squat, So that's one of the biggest changes. Outside of that, just some minor tweaks we're making to technique on certain movements. Different variables we're changing, especially with bench. Like, I'm telling you right now, bro, I have the potential to be a 550-pound bencher. Like, I know I do. As soon as I close that gap, it is over. My boot is on motherfuckers' necks already. Just wait until I close that gap. And then deadlifts, we'll keep that climbing. Squats, keep that climbing. But bench, as soon as I close that gap, I truly believe we will be the greatest human in history in the 93s. Like undeniably, you know? But I don't want to talk too much about that because let's let the work show through. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, that's the SBD primary thing is probably one of the biggest changes. I am contemplating trying sumo a little bit. I have been trying a couple sets here and there, mainly just because my grip. I don't have a grip issue. My problem is my quads are big, and so at lockout, the moment I, basically if I'm pulling with my posterior as opposed to pushing with my anterior, I end up pulling into myself and the quads push the bar out. The bar will literally roll and it just unravels my hand. With sumo, it's a little bit easier to manage that. Conventional, obviously your thighs are right there, so it makes it harder. But we'll see about that. Okay, next question. Food and hydration during the training sessions. This is very context dependent and very lifter dependent. So everybody's gonna be different. But for me, I have a bunch of recomp drinks that I've made beforehand that I'm basically sipping on the entire time. In short, it's basically Pedialytes with extra dextrose. Like for the most part, that's what it is. And I'm just drinking a lot of those throughout the meet. Sometimes a Gatorade here and there. Sometimes I'll have some candy, but the pace of these meets, it's fast. You're looking at like a clean 3-hour meet, and you may think that that's slow, but that really is that's a well-paced meet. Slower meet is like Sheffield, where they stretch it for 4 to 5 hours. You get hungry, and you will want to munch on something. But when it's a national championship or a world championship, especially prime time, yeah, you're going to be moving, so you don't really have much time to eat. To be honest with you, it's more about just getting fluids in. So yeah. That's basically my protocol. It's just, getting your fluids with your electrolytes and some carbs. Appropriate weight classes according to height. To be completely honest with you, I don't know if I really give a shit about the height of the individual. I care more about the frame. And by frame, I mean the amount of mass they have on their frame. So I know guys who are 93s who absolutely should be 105s. Good example is Gustav. Like Gustav is lean as fuck. Gustav is pretty shredded, and he's got a lot of mass. I don't know how much he water cuts, but I'm sure he has a little bit of a cut to do. And he's ridiculously strong as a 93. He's hyper competitive. He should stay 93, 100%. But could he be a really, really strong 105? Yes, absolutely, like 100%. If he'd be willing to put on some more fluff and maybe a little bit more tissue. I don't think height matters as much. It's just a matter of how much mass you have on your frame relative to how lean you are. So I guess really how much lean mass you have. I think that probably is the most important thing because like I said, like Taylor Atwood, when he was a 74, like he doesn't look that much different than he was a 74. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like he had a lot of tissue when he was a 74 and he was lean. Now as an 83, pretty much filled out. I feel like he's just as lean. So yeah, sure, maybe he put on tons of muscle or whatever, but like he fills it out really well. Now his height obviously didn't change, so he definitely had the height for 74. And I knew him when he was a 74, he wasn't struggling to get to 74. So I don't know, like I just don't think that the height really matters that much. I think it's just more so like how much lean mass you have and how much room you have as a result. Russ, another good example, like Russ at 83 is stupid lean, like stupid lean. He should be a 93, even though he's around my height. Maybe he's got an inch or two on me. I'm 5'5" on a good day. I think maybe he's around 5'6", but he's got a lot of tissue. So for him, it makes sense for him to just eat like, even him just eating normal, he will probably sit around 200, if I had to guess. 202 and a half, 205. I doubt he's gonna push to 210 or so in his off season. I mean, maybe, but I just don't see it. So yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not really about the height. I think it's more so about your lean mass, how much tissue you have, and yeah. Would you have adjusted your attempt selections if given a do-over? Now, I know it's been a little while since nationals. Nobody probably really gives a shit about it, but I think it's worth talking about this. It is a little educational. Yes, 100%. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. I absolutely would have changed my attempt selections. I would have squat at least 771. I would have went to 350 kg on the squat. So we would have taken 771. On bench, I probably would have taken the risk with 222 and a half instead of just 220. And then deadlifts, I would have changed how I set up for my third deadlift and or would have changed the number we put in, The truth is that Keiko had more. on his third pull. So, who knows? I don't know if an extra 5 to 7.5 kilos would have made the difference. I think had we went to 350 or even 352.5 on squat, and if we got it, assuming we got it, and then same thing on bench, if we went up an extra 2.5 and assuming we got it, that still would only give us, I think, like an extra 5 to 7.5 kilo lead than what we had. And then knowing how 782 went, we probably should have just taken like 771 or maybe like something in between. And then I think with a more patient start position, we wouldn't have had the issue we had with the bar rolling out. So yeah, I mean, like all those things could have given us something that would have beaten Keiko's total. But there's no way of really knowing because, like I said, his last deadlift was pretty easy. So I think he had probably at least another 5 kilos. I would say 7.5 max, but definitely 5 kilos on that. So yeah, but yes, I definitely would have taken a do-over 100%, bro. I lost, so any fucking change would be better than losing, right? I mean, how much lower can you get when you lose? Okay. What are you most proud of about the meet? This is a tough question to answer, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think I'm really happy with how every single meet, some shit goes wrong. Something happens, right? And I end up having to learn from it. It's a hard lesson. A lot of times, that lesson costs me the meet. One of the things that I'm really happy about with this meet is I nailed the recomp really, really well. My stomach was stable for the most part, and that was huge because at NAPFs, it was the opposite. And so I learned from that. And I was really happy that I was able to make some changes that worked. So that I was really happy with. Same thing with my body weight and my cut. Really happy with how well that went. Proud? I mean, I don't know. What is there to be proud of? Like, I don't, what am I proud of? And also too, at the end of the day, bro, I'm just like lifting weights. Like, what's so special about that, So I don't know. I mean, if anything, I'm grateful that I was able to manage the weight of the loss and everything else going on in my life, because I've had a lot going on, as well as I have. And I do credit that to the Lord. I've given it to Him. If anything, I'm grateful that I've been able to do that. Didn't cry about anything. Not that crying's bad, but, I just feel like, yes, it's almost like a rock bottom for me, but my baseline is higher, if that makes sense. Like rock bottom 5 years ago was a lot lower than where rock bottom is now. That's a great thing. So I feel, although it feels very heavy, I also feel capable, if that makes sense. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. How and what do you do to burn your ships when facing strong challenges and adversity? To be honest with you, it's very simple. You make the decision to commit 110% to what you're doing. You don't give yourself any sort of plan B. There's no other option. There's no other alternative. You're all in. So any challenge you face, you're running towards it. The hero and the coward feel the same fear. The difference between the two is the choice they make. The hero runs towards it, coward runs away from it. And that's from Customato. But that's the truth. So you have a choice to make in these competitions. To go all in, to bet on yourself, or to not. Sometimes in a meet, strategy and being realistic is a nice mask that fear likes to wear. And that happens a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a meet and I had a plan. We'll use nationals as an example. I had a plan of taking 771 on the third squat. But based on how the second felt and moved, I was like, you know what? We need to secure this. Let's take 765. Let's play it just a little bit safer. Still aggressive, but not super aggressive, right? Was that strategy or was that fear that I wasn't going to get the 771 had I taken it? You see? So burning your ships and going all in is the mindset of, I don't give a fuck. I came in here to do one thing, and I'll be damned if I leave not having done it. That's the mindset. So it's not easy, especially in the heat of the moment. Look, anybody can talk their shit when it's comfortable and when they're healthy and they're happy and they're not nervous and all this, and they didn't cut and all this bullshit. But when you're in it and things don't go your way, or things are harder than you thought they would, and things, your plans get blown to smithereens, and everybody's cheering against you, who are you then? So that's why you have to make that commitment prior to. Because it will get hard. It's supposed to be hard. You thought becoming the best in the world was going to be easy? No. So prior to all of it, you commit. No matter what comes my way, no matter what happens, I have burned the fucking ships. I am in, all in. There's no turning back. And that's the mindset. Because the truth is, hesitation will kill you. You get under that bar, no matter how heavy it feels, and it will feel heavy, you have to go. You have to give 100% because anything less than your best will not do it. So you might as well just go all in, or just don't do it at all. So, any tips for athletes trying to make it to world's level competitions? Yeah, just keep training and competing. And have in your mind where you want to go. So you have a vision of where you're trying to go. Use that vision to create action. So action is like reverse engineering that vision down to simple, easy, digestible, not easy, but digestible steps. So essentially you do it right, you're gonna go from the ideal all the way down to the present. And it's just a reverse engineering process. And then you're just gonna start executing, start creating action. Find your coach. If things don't work with your current coach, find another coach, period. Or work with that coach to collaborate and find a way forward that allows you to be successful. Then you're constantly trying to fine tune everything you possibly can. What does it take to become a champion? Well, be the champion before you're the champion. So how do you think? What do you drink? How do you sleep? What are your habits outside of training? And then when you're talking about training, what are your training habits? Where are you training? What do you train on, right? What's your mindset with training? The speed at which you train, like everything. You want to audit every single fucking thing. If you want above average results, like you have to do what the average person is not willing to do. So it really is that simple. Like it really is. It's just a matter of stacking W's, just going all in on the process and thinking about, okay, what can I do to get better? What more do I need to do? What else do I need to figure out? That's just the process. Just over and over and over and over and over again. You just keep going and going and going. You just fully apply yourself. Sometimes it requires sacrifices. That's part of the game. So yeah. Will a day of hanging with friends ruin my chances at Worlds? Easy answer, probably. I mean, I'm half kidding, half not, but probably. You should be locked in. You're not there to hang out with friends, bro. You're there to win a world championship. So, do with that what you will. Gorilla in the room. So, why did I wear what I wore at Nationals? Am I an SPD athlete in this current moment? So there's some context to this. I'm not gonna get too much into it, especially like regarding the IPF ban stuff, because I don't know enough about that. Like I didn't do my due diligence with that. So I don't wanna give you an uninformed perspective, especially if it could potentially influence your perspective. So take what I say with a grain of salt here, but at the very least, I can't offer you the truth when it comes to the situation with SPD. And again, even that, I don't wanna dive too deeply into it. But long story short, the reason why I wore what I wore, well, I guess the backstory to that, my contract with SPD ended February 28th and Nationals was April 5th. So we had about a month to figure out a new contract, to re-sign and continue our relationship. And as it was going, like as we were kind of negotiating and trying to figure out what would make sense for both parties moving forward, I just realized like it was gonna take a lot longer for us to kind of come to equal terms, like to find a place where both parties would feel like they were receiving the level of value that they were also like offering. And I'm really big on look, business is business. And I 100% get that. I try my best, although I'm an emotional guy, I try my best not to take certain things personally when it comes to business. There are certain things that are like, okay, this is very obviously personal, this is disrespectful, whatever. But most cases, it's really just business. And sometimes that hurts. But you have to keep in mind too that you kind of end up doing the same thing to them, and if not to them, then to others. Like it's just kind of how it's done. And so you just always want to be mindful of that. So I get that business is business. Everyone has to look out for their own and check their bottom line. And like at the end of the day, when it comes to these negotiations, like the company wants to get as much value out of you for the cheapest price possible. You want to basically do the same thing with them in return. Like, and if you're an ethical business person, you want that value to be relatively reciprocal and not equal, but it needs to make sense, right? Like you don't want to scam someone. You want to give them great value, and you want to receive great value in return. That's how I do business. Not everyone does it that way, but that's how I try and do business. And so really the negotiation is just a matter of figuring out like, okay, well, what define great value? Like what is that for you and what is that for me? And does this make sense? So I believe that although business is business, the relationship should still be healthy. It should still be a healthy relationship. And that does require some give from each party. And sometimes that takes time. And so long story short, I just realized it was gonna take longer than the time we had between the end of the contract and nationals for us to come to find a way to move forward together, you know, in a way that both parties would be satisfied with. And there's nothing wrong with that, like nothing at all. So because the contract was not gonna get figured out by then, there were some other things that had happened and whatever, but there's really no point in getting into any of that stuff. In short, it's nothing against like the company. Like I love the company. I love the equipment. I love the brand. Like it's nothing against the company at all. I didn't try and like screw them in any way, whatever. So I didn't violate anything. I didn't violate a contract. I didn't do anything like wrong necessarily. So just want to make sure that that's clear. So yeah, so now that brings us to the day of the meet, like me wearing what I wore. In truth, this was the first time in years that I wasn't under contract with a company, and the first time in years where I now had an opportunity to try something different, try something new. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I want to win. And so in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, my coach has told me that the Titan Singlet really does help with depth perception on squat. And the A7 sleeves, like I don't care for stiff sleeves really at all, but my coach was talking to me about them. And then I was talking to Anthony McNaughton about them because he's trained in them and competed in them, and he really, really liked them. And he felt that they gave him like a certain amount of confidence and pop out of the hole and all this other stuff, which again would really help me with depth. So 2 weeks out from my meet, like literally 2 weeks out from my meet, I tried the Titan Singlet and I tried the sleeves. And you could even ask my coach, like literally leading up to the day of the meet, I was like, bro, I don't even know if I really want to wear this. Like, I don't care enough. Like, you know, and the last thing I wanted to do was jeopardize my relationship with SPD. Even though I wasn't under contract, I just didn't, you know, I didn't want them to think I was trying to like shaft them or whatever. And he was just like, look, man, like at the end of the day, and I don't want to put this on John, but basically the general consensus was like, we're here to win. So why don't we go in with that mindset? If there's a possibility that trying the Titan Singlet will help with our depth perception, trying the A7 sleeves will help with our pop out of the hole, whatever, then just try it. Like, you know, like again, you're not under contract. There's nothing technically wrong with it. So you might as well just try. So we just went through with it. Like that's basically it. It's just funny and ironic that literally the next day those sleeves get banned. But yeah, so that's why I wore it. I wanted to just have the potential advantage of squat depth perception being better. That's basically it. And that goes for both the singlet and the sleeves pretty much. The sleeves, like I can't say they're better or worse, they're just different. Some people may disagree with me, but that's just my honest opinion. Like I love the way, I mean, obviously I've only really trained in SPD sleeves. So when I say flexible, I'm referring to SPD sleeves here, but I love the way flexible sleeves feel. Like they really do compress the knee joint. They feel the way sleeves should feel. The super stiff, like rigor mortis A7 sleeves did their job really, really well. And that, yeah, they're super stiff. They're pretty uncomfortable. They don't really feel, like they just feel rigid. Like it feels like your knee is in between walls. And so coming into and out of the hole, you do feel like a little bit more of a pop. The sacrifice is that you don't feel compressed. You don't feel, it's so hard to explain. I guess like the difference would be like you ever do like a tempo set where you like slow down the eccentric and you're really strong and smooth with the concentric of a movement, and so you really feel the muscle working. That's like flexible sleeves. But then if you were to just like drop the bar in your chest and try and explode up, you don't really feel the muscle working, but the weight moved, right? So that's how it felt in the stiff sleeves. So to say that that's better or worse, I don't know. I just think that it's different, and so that was my experience with them. I do not care that they were, I don't care about the fact that I don't have, that I can't wear them again. Like I don't mind that. I do feel bad for the companies that paid a lot of money to have their stuff like tested and then approved and stuff like that. I think that there should be something done about that. But and I do feel bad for some of the consumers as well. I heard that was a thing. You know, a lot of people are upset because they spent all this money on these stiff sleeves and stuff. But you know, I guess we could talk about that in a second, but because we got to talk about the IPF ban situation. But yeah, before moving on to that, just to kind of come full circle with everything, that's why I wore what I wore. Am I with SBD currently? I am not. I don't have any sponsor whatsoever for equipment, and I still do work with MyProtein. I really enjoyed working with MyProtein for a while, but I think my contract's coming to an end with them, and even them, I'm not totally sure if I'm going to re-sign. To be honest with you, man, like this year, my number one goal has been to stay in my lane, work on myself, trust his lead, and let him lead me. You know, man, like I just every year I bet more and more on myself. And it's not that I don't want to do anything with anyone else and do partnerships and all sorts of stuff. That's not it at all. It's just that I don't know. My confidence and my strength is here. It's with me. You know, I'm not dependent upon these relationships and these partnerships and all this other stuff. You know, if it makes sense, it makes sense. But if it doesn't, to me, it's like, why push it, you know? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I currently don't have an equipment sponsor. Would have no problem working with SBD again. I don't want to speak for them. I don't know what their situation is and what the position, and I respect whatever position they need to take. But I definitely wasn't trying to like be like, oh, fuck you guys, like I'm gonna wear whatever I want. That was not the situation at all. So, you know, I hope they don't perceive it that way. But regardless, like, you know, I'm my own man and I'm an athlete and I made my own decision. Like I'm allowed to do that, it is what it is, wasn't under contract. And I don't ever want to be in a position, by the way, not that SPD was making me feel this way, but I don't ever want to be in a position where somebody else, some entity, company, person tells me what I can and can't do. And if I don't listen, then I'm a bad boy kind of thing. Like, fuck that shit. Like, you know, you have to respect your commitments and respect your relationships, absolutely. But that aside, you also have to have your own voice and be your own person and make your own decisions. You know, like if you don't have that, then what do you have? Who are you? You know, you're just a puppet basically at that point. So yeah, like I said, nothing against anyone. I still love the company. I still love the equipment, and I'd totally be open to partnering again with them if it made sense. Like I have no issue with that whatsoever. There's a reason why I did wear all their shit for so long, and why I was wearing their stuff even before I was sponsored by them. So yeah, that's that. The IPF stiff sleeve ban. This is something, like I said, I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I wanna be able to do my due diligence before really giving my take. But I know a lot of people are upset about it. If I'm upset about anything, it's really just, I feel bad for these companies. Here's the thing, I do believe that it's healthy for any sport to have strict regulations and systems when it comes to maintaining the integrity of said sport. And for us, that means raw equipment. So we need to make sure that we have strict standards that are upheld consistently for the type of equipment that we allow. And I think that's fine. Like, I think it's good to have that. I'm not saying that the IPF does that well. I'm not saying that the IPF has been consistent and has been able to uphold those things well. I'm not saying any of that. We could argue about that shit. All I'm saying is that like from an ideological perspective, the idea of a sport or a federation having strict rules about sustaining the integrity of their sport, I think that that's a good thing. Now, I also know that evolution is not pretty, and that at one point in time, cars did not have seatbelts. And then at one point, we realized, holy shit, we should probably put seatbelts in these fucking things. Now it is mandatory for cars to have seatbelts. The process of evolution is ugly. The truth is, unfortunately, pain will lead to change. So we do something, we create something, we innovate, we have a method for something, shit starts to go wrong, that shit happens a lot, and then we start to say, we don't want this shit to happen a lot anymore, and we don't think this is the right move, and we see a different, better future, let's readjust, let's implement this regulation, let's change this, whatever. You see that all the time, in every area of life, in every industry. Powerlifting is no different. The difference is that, you know, we're just such a small culture, and it's such a interesting sport that things like changes like this become this big thing. So I don't think that it's abnormal. I don't think that it's weird that this is happening. I don't know the behind the scenes. Could there be some politics involved or whatever? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't know. But what I will say though is that it is necessary to maintain the integrity of the sport. And if that means, creating stricter regulations on the equipment that we use, fine. Like that's fine. That's natural progression of things. Like I said before, the one thing I do feel is bad for the companies because they pay a fuck ton of money to have their stuff tested and approved. That's kind of fucked up because they're not going to get their money back. Now, so one could argue that they did get use out of that. I think they got approved through till 2026 or something like that. I don't know, something like that. Or 2027, I don't know. So it is a little strange that the IPF would announce it now and not just wait till those contracts end. But I don't know. I really don't know. See, this is what I mean. I can't really talk about it that much. Either way, I do think that that's a little messed up. Especially because companies, they're investing not just in the approval of these equipment pieces, but in the production of these equipment pieces, the inventory, the sales channels. There's so much that goes into it. People don't understand. You could crush a small business this way. And so I feel for those people. Do I feel bad for the consumer? Yes and no. I do feel bad in that, you may have invested in a very expensive pair of knee sleeves. At the same time, I don't think that that's a big enough reason to not institute a change like this. Okay, let's take an extreme example. Let's say the IPF was gonna go from not drug-free to drug-free. So we shouldn't make that move just because you all bought your vials of test. It's you see how dumb that sounds? So to me, as a consumer, you made a choice to purchase it. I understand you made a choice based on X information, and it turns out that kind of fucked you. And that sucks. That is life. It does suck. And I'm not trying to downplay the fact that $300 is a lot of money for a pair of knee sleeves, whatever. But truthfully, I'm in that same boat. I literally bought the rigor mortis sleeves 2 weeks before my competition. And of course, ironically, the next day they get banned. So I'm in the same boat. I'm with you. But at the end of the day, bro, it's it was my choice to buy them. And technically, I did use them. I used them twice. So, it's or 3 times maybe. So it's, yeah. If you got use out of them, especially, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. But I do feel bad for a lot of companies. I do think they should have some sort of credit. They should receive some sort of credit moving forward. If nothing else, it'll promote innovation in the sport. It won't turn companies away from investing into the sport because that's what you want. You want companies to be incentivized to invest into the sport. That's how it's going to grow. So yeah, in terms of how I feel about stiff sleeves being banned and shit, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If you guys have been training, if you guys have been doing your accessories, and especially if you have a training background prior to powerlifting, you're gonna be totally fine. As somebody who has a squat world record and an American squat record, I can tell you right now, the sleeves don't make that big of a difference. At the end of the day, it's not the tool, it's the mechanic. Does the tool help a little bit? Absolutely. I mean, that's why you use tools. But ultimately, the tool is pretty much useless if the mechanic sucks, okay? So you have to be really good at what you do, then you can make any tool better. I can tell you right now, I don't work on cars at all. You give me the best tools in the world, I guarantee you find somebody who's a master when it comes to working on cars, and you give them the worst tools in the world, they're still gonna outperform me by a mile. That's the truth of it. So now, give him the best tools, yeah, sure, maybe you'll see some slight performance increase. But at the end of the day, it is about you and it's not about the external, okay? So as an athlete, and this is the harsh news here, and some people are gonna give me some backlash. As the athlete, your mindset has to be, no matter what comes my way, I will adapt and overcome. You are not in control of the externals. Life is not fair. That's the truth of it. Your job is to adapt and execute regardless. Nobody is making you compete. You made that choice. It's voluntary. You could quit. You can give up. But if you choose to stay in, if you choose to continue to work, if you choose to adapt, don't complain. You keep moving forward. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't advocate for change. I'm not arguing that at all. I'm just saying that the attitude you assume should be, no matter what, I don't care what comes my way, I'm gonna continue to get better, get sharper, and keep getting stronger, period. And I hear a lot of people shitting on elite athletes who are saying just get stronger, blah, blah, and I get it, some of them might be in, you feel well, they're being paid by such and such company, and so that's why they're saying whatever. You have me here, who's not paid by any company. I have no sponsor anymore. Nobody's I'm not in anybody's pocket. And I am telling you that maybe, just maybe, they're elite because that's their mindset. And you're not because you have a victim mindset. That just might be it. There's a reason why they are where they are and you are where you are. That's the truth. And that sounds harsh, that sounds cold, but it is the truth. Even for me. Like, the reality is, if I want to be number one in the world, winning an open world championship, which I haven't done yet, there's a reason. Like, there has to be a reason, right? So I have to suck it up, sack up, and realize I need to change. Maybe it's my mindset, maybe it's my attitude, maybe it's the way I train, maybe it's the standards I train to. Could be everything, could be anything. I mean, that's the mindset though, is no matter what, I will get stronger. I'm not gonna worry about fucking knee sleeves. Like, fuck it. You know what? I'm so fucking strong, I don't need any fucking knee sleeves. I'm gonna go a naked knee and still squat a world record. Like, that's the mindset you gotta have. You know what I mean? I know it's extreme, but that's the mindset you wanna have. I don't worry about it. In other words, like, it's aside from the politics and all the stuff that could be going on and all this nonsense, like all that shit, I can't talk on that. I don't know anything about it. But in terms of you and what is within your control, don't worry about it. And I can tell you, it's not like they add like fucking 30 to 50 pounds on your squat anyway. Now, I never use the insers, but yeah, like, it's just, I can tell you right now, you're fine. So that's everything. That's the Q&A. I don't even know how long this fucking thing is. This is my first time back filming, and I can tell I'm a little rusty. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to ask them in the comment section. We will definitely be uploading more educational stuff, get back into that groove moving forward. And I'm really excited for the next year, man. I think that we've got a lot ahead of us, and I think it's gonna be a lot of work, but I'm excited for it, man. I really am excited for it. One thing I do wanna ask you though is, do you prefer programs, training programs and courses and all that stuff in the form of like PDFs and ebooks, or all in an app, like a functional app? Let me know in the comments. All right, I will see you guys in the next YouTube video. Peace.